Thank you so much for coming back to the next episode of the Fender Marine Construction Ask the Experts. And I'd like to welcome my guests. I'm Rick Fender, Board of Directors member at Fender Marine. And we have the President, Tim Abbott, here to my left. And further left is Stephen Whitney. And this is the President and Vice President, respectively. And today we were going to talk about just modern marine construction components. Part of this could be do-it-yourself, but a lot of it has to do with more commercial and heavy-duty industrial or civil type construction. So the first one is how to set piling of all types, and that's kind of a broad one. So let me boil it down to just this question. If we were going to do jetting, which we discussed that briefly in a previous episode, how would you jet either a steel or a wood or a concrete pile? Are they jetted differently, or can you jet all of them?
Yeah, you can jet them all. I know that once you get, typically on steel or concrete, you're going to be going farther in the ground than you would with a wood pile, because you're using, it's going to be going for a heavier duty construction. And once you get much past 10 feet or so jetting, you it's in your best interest to go ahead and incorporate air into your water jet so that it keeps the soil that you're liquefying aerated and brings it back up to the top where it washes out of the hole. Where if you're just straight water jetting and you get down 10 or 12 feet, that soil is not going to make it back up, and you're going to have a hard time jetting and getting your piling or whatever you're jetting in to go down. You got to get the soil liquefied, and then the air would lift it back out. You're going 6 or 5, 6, 7 feet in the ground, no big deal, just plain straight water. But generally on the heavier stuff, you're going to want to incorporate air.
So with whether it's a sheet pile like a vinyl, aluminum, fiberglass, or a wood pile like a square pile like a 4x4, 6x6, 8x8, it's the same rig. You're still using the 2-inch trash pump and the hose, discharge hose, and then a wand of varying lengths. And you what size wand, what is the diameter and length of the wands that you use?
Do a 3/4 inch pipe, and then depending on how far you want to go on the ground or how deep the water is, if you're on the boat or if you're in the water, you kind of just size the length off of that, whatever's easier to work with.
And so on the pipe, is the bottom of it like smashed down to get more pressure, or you just leave it straight, whatever that 3/4 inch diameter ID?
Yeah, just straight how it is. The 2-inch trash pump will give you pretty good pressure out of there. It'll probably spray water 20 feet if you just had it spraying out to the side.
Where do you put the suction side of that to make sure you don't get clogged up? How do you do that?
Yeah, well, it depends. If it's sandy, you don't really have to worry about it. If it's mucky, sometimes the muck will get there. You could put a screen around it, or try to tie it to something where it's up off the
Get it
bottom.
the bottom.
Yeah,
okay,
so it
because
doesn't
it's
get
going to
clogged.
act as a dredge if it's right there on the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Tim, did you have anything to add on that of jetting? Any tricks on jetting or anything?
Jet straight.
Yeah, you got to dig the hole where you want the piling to go. Yeah, well, you did bring up, doing things at the end of the wand, like flattening them out with a hammer to kind of maybe reduce the size of the hole, so you have a little, increase the pressure a little bit, and that'll work to a certain point. At some point, though, you're losing, you're just losing the volume and not increasing. You're increasing the pressure a little bit, losing volume. At some point, it'll work a little bit, but at some point, you're going to be counterproductive by limiting the volume of water that's coming out of the end of your wand.
So when you're jetting, now this is more for the do-it-yourselfers, the say 6x6 pile, which is typical for the post supporting the walkway or the boathouse or whatever. One guy is working the wand, and then the other guy's working the post, the pile, or maybe takes two guys, or how does that work?
One guy working the wand, and the other guy guiding the pile.
Okay, and by guiding it, is he moving it up and down, or it just sits there and drops down?
Sometimes the bottoms, it will just drop down by itself, but a lot of times you're picking it up and kind of help push it in there.
I see. So does it just drop down by itself in a plumb condition if you just hold it plumb, or do you have to kind of pivot it to keep it on the line and to get it to go in plumb?
Yeah, lots of pivoting and moving the wand around. You got to loosen the side of the hole if you want the pole to go a certain direction. That's where you would move the wand to open the hole on that
So
side.
it takes a touch, and the homeowners or do-it-yourselfers would have to kind of practice to get good at that.
Definitely a learning curve.
Yep, gotcha. So I wanted to talk about other methods of installation that we've used on installing pile. So we've got either impact driving pile, whether it's sheet or steel pipe or concrete square pile, or any kind of pile, H pile. And then we've got the vibratory. And so I was wondering, maybe Tim, you could talk about the difference between those two and what kind of equipment is involved there. This is more for our developers and other people that might be interested in some of the civil projects that we do. Some of the engineers, they know this stuff, but maybe they'd like to hear more.
Yeah, when driving piling, the wood piling and concrete and steel, when you're driving, a lot of times it's an impact hammer, and you would either, you got different types. So you got a hammer that would sit in a lead, or a hammer that, which is a guide that, your hammer slides up and down in the track, so you can set your lead and then plumb it all up, and then the hammer's going to run down that, or a freestanding hammer. With a freestanding hammer, you're either going to build a template to hold your pile in place, or jet or dig your piling a certain distance into the ground and get it lined up and position and plumb where it needs to go, then put your freestanding hammer on top of it and drive it. Similar thing would happen with leads, but there's less, with the freestanding, you need to do a little bit more to guide your piling, whereas with a lead where a hammer in a slide and slides up and down inside the leads, it's gonna, you can use the leads to kind of direct your the direction your piling's going. And then moving to a vibratory hammer. We do use vibratory hammers from time to time on piling, but most vibratory hammers are used for sheet piling. And most all of your sheet piling installation is, if it's not jetted, it's done with a vibratory hammer, which is, clamps on, and and then vibrates the sheet down to, whatever your target elevation is. And there are some situations where a vibratory hammer doesn't work as well. Like say if you're in a really cohesive clay, then your vibratory hammer is not really going to work that well, and you may have to use an impact hammer to get your sheet piling down to the required depth.
Speaking of vibratory hammers, Stephen, you recently finished a job for Duke Energy up in the Panhandle, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And that was steel sheet pile cofferdam project. And yeah, that was a difficult project. Could you tell us about the equipment and such that you used there?
Well, yeah, the piling were 60 feet long, so that they're very heavy. We had a 200-ton crane and about a 16,000-pound vibratory hammer to drive them in.
Nice. Now, did you do off land or?
And then it was off of a barge. We had the crane up on land, and then basically the guys were down on barges working there to get the frame, line up beams, and then set the piling.
What'd you use as a frame to keep the sheet pile straight?
We had steel H beams we welded to the barge and hung them off the barge, and then we could bring our frame with us as we went.
Okay, so you spudded the barge up in position and
spud the
put
barge
the
in
frame.
position, yeah.
Okay, I didn't get to go to that job. It sounded so intense up there, but I understand it was finished on time and we got paid, which is really important.
We finished before the manatees came in.
Right, we had to fight with timing on the manatees, and a lot of times that can be an issue. What's another driven pile job that we've had recent experience with? We could talk about a theme park.
Yeah,
now.
when I
All
can
right,
make
so
it.
Tim, I understand that you have a project for Flagler County and FDOT.
Flagler and Volusia.
And
We've
Volusia
completed
and
we've
FDOT.
completed Flagler, and we're working in Volusia right now.
And that was a result of hurricane action a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I think it was a result of hurricane action throughout history. That portion of A1A between North Volusia and South Flagler is right immediately next to the dune.
And A1A is just right on the
yeah,
next side?
Yeah, it's A1A, and then, it's
Yeah.
15 feet of dune, and then you're on the beach.
So I understand you're you're putting back in.
Right. The
Dune
road,
crossings.
the road continuously washed out there, so that which blocked, which stopped the evacuation route for a lot of the residents there. So FDOT has decided to come in and put in a auger cast retaining wall, seawall, along that stretch of A1A, and in doing so, they had to come in and remove all of the dune crossings and everything that was there and put the wall in, and then once they get past that and get the beach back, the dune graded back, we're coming in and reinstalling the dune crossings, which are
So-
all on timber piling.
And you're driving those.
Yes. I mean,
What system are you using?
we've got a Pile Master 2400, I believe it is the model number, and it's basically a 2,300 pound hammer. And
So it's an impact hammer?
it is an air impact hammer.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And it's freestanding. We're not using leads. The method we're using on that is we're actually hand digging for the piling like 4 to 5 feet in the ground, getting them good, getting them plumb, and then we're actually using a telehandler forklift and in a 185 CFM air compressor and the Pile Master hammer to drive the piling the rest of the way. And we're shooting to get the piling to a certain elevation so that when
Tip elevation.
elevation,
Okay, gotcha.
which is below the 50-year scour line, so that when storms
hurricane.
come in and it washes the beach out, then the piling will still be in the ground somewhat, so they don't, not hanging in the air, not washing away. But so we're driving the piling different depths. I mean, the piling at the top of the dune are going in, some of them 15, 16 feet below grade, and then the piling, by the time you get down at the toe of the dune on the beach, they're going at a minimum of 10 feet. And like I said,
So what size pile are they? Length and diameter?
they're 8-inch diameter, and most of the piling are 25 feet. By some of the ones that you get down on the beach are 20s, and maybe by the time you get all the way to the toe of this bottom stair, you can get away with 16s.
So this hammer, this pile master, what's the number of blows per minute on that? About.
It's
very variable.
Yeah, I think
depending on how you can dial it in, depending on
Yeah.
how much air you lit through the
but
controller.
it's 40 or 50 blows a minute, though, right?
Yeah.
I believe it is. Yeah, something to that effect. And the refusal is pretty much anything beyond. Once you get to 10 blows an inch,
You're there?
you're pretty much at refusal.
Right.
And you can maybe try hit a little bit more, but at some point you're just gonna damage the hammer. And so if you need to go any farther, you'd have to get a bigger hammer. Although we started out with the size smaller, which was a 1,600 pound, I believe, hammer, and we weren't able to get the depth that we needed. So we moved up to the 2450, I believe it is, which is I think 2,300 pound hammer, and we've been able to get the necessary, the required embedment depth without much problem with that.
So you mentioned that you had also a concrete pile project recently that was Harbortown, or?
Yes, it was Harbortown Marina, their boat lift out area where they lift out. I think they were lifting out boats up to, I don't remember what the criteria was. It was 50 or 60,000 pounds, I believe.
What size pile were they?
They were
14 inch.
Yeah, they were a 14-inch concrete pile, and they originally started out to be 25-foot pile, being with a 14 or 15-foot embedment, and then between the structural engineer, after the structural engineer came back and said, well, this is the amount of load that these pile need to handle, the geotechnical engineer reevaluated, and then the pile became, went from a 15 to 20 foot embedment to I think it was 40 foot embedment.
Oh,
So yeah.
wow.
So either way, we had to get a change order on that, and
I
then
bet.
bigger equipment and bigger template and longer pile. And once we got everything in order and got everything going, I mean the pile went well, and then we.
How big of a hammer did you use on that one? Do you remember?
I don't remember exactly. I know it was heavy.
Was
It was
it
D16, I believe. I don't remember the weight on it.
Yeah,
though.
I mean it was up to it was. I think hammer and leads. I think when we sized the crane, I think we used a number of around 26,000 pounds.
Was
for
it
the-
off a barge or off land?
off land?
Oh, good.
Did it off land. So
So let's talk about the suppliers. Now this is more for the DIY or DIY. Who are the best suppliers? Who are the suppliers we use for aluminum, vinyl? And, I mean, we don't, for steel, they're not going to be using steel. Or for even the helical, if they wouldn't have the equipment to do that. So we're really talking about vinyl or aluminum. Where do we get that? Maybe we could help our possible customers in the future.
all of that, we have a few different. There's three main suppliers that we use that are, that two of which are specifically only sell material, pressure treated material, and material for marine work, and then there's one other company, here in Orlando that supplies marine piling and sheet and aluminum and vinyl sheet pile, but they also supply other types of material. But there's there's Southern Pine and Decks and Docks,
They're
which
over there
are
on Hansel or Orange Avenue.
Yeah.
Kinda? Yeah.
yeah, and both of those companies are statewide. They have different. They have other.
Okay.
They have other outlets throughout the state of Florida, and Outdoor Living Products. While I believe they'll deliver just about anywhere in Florida, I think they're only based here in Orlando.
You got a great building, though. Beautiful shop there.
Yeah.
But big showroom. And then Decks and Docks.
Decks and Docks. Yeah, they also have. They're a marine supplier. I mean, hence the name Decks and Docks. And they're also have locations throughout Florida.
And then a company that we've been working with for 30 years. Started working with the father, and now we're working with the son and his daughter, and that's Ravens Manufacturing, and they sell the aluminum sheet pile, aluminum cap, tie backs, rods, plates, everything. And so they're really good for the aluminum, but that's all they sell are the aluminum.
Yeah.
Okay, great. The last one I wanted to talk about today, I think we've just got a minute, is about AB Chance helical piling. And we're the local certified contractors for them. And I was wondering what uses have you installed for using the AB Chance helical piling? What projects like?
Most of the projects we've done with the helical piling have been, for tiebacks on seawalls. I mean, we've done some underpinning and some actual, some pin pile or piling for foundations support. But the bulk, I believe, has been tiebacks. We used them at Riverside Oaks. We used quite a few of them. I think they were, that wall, part of it was an 11-foot exposed space, so it was it's about as big as you could get.
I know that AB Chance sells a bracket to be used in wetlands for boardwalk construction. Did we ever get a chance to use that?
Have not.
No.
I have not.
It's really cool. I know out at some of the theme parks where they have wetlands, they use that, or they want to use it. We haven't had a chance to use it.
I did a few of them, but I haven't.
What they do
built
is
one
they
yet.
just screw the pile in, and then they bolt this U-shaped bracket and put the beam in, and then build their framing on that and go. And the impact to the wetland is really minimized. I think that's all we have, you guys, for this episode. And thank you so much, Stephen, Timmy. It's been fun. I wanted to encourage our listeners or viewers or whoever you are to either call in or email in questions for the next episode. Our email address is info@fendermarine.com, or you can visit our website, fendermarine.com, or the phone number here is 407-481-8383. And I'm Rick Fender, and thanks for watching.